share more bits of love, right? The best of the beats on the track, but I don't think you know I tried to be with help from love. This is how it goes down. Hey, what's up everybody? This is my first official video in a while, and I thought I would do my very second ever response video. Now this one is to the CIA release document. I had done a video on this before, but I'm taking a different approach and angle to it this time. Number one, we can no longer say that this is pseudoscience, okay? Because there is a science to it. You're just not being made aware of it. I know that the military has mastered this, and they are using it for sure. And while people are still sitting back thinking that what they see and what is being readily given to them by the very same system that's controlling them is going to tell them these things that they are mastering and using over everyone else, you're just still not getting it. So when people such as myself come forth and share these things, it would be wiser, no matter how strange and bizarre and out there it sounds, to just listen. You might learn something. Now, I find it very interesting that these AI videos that are basically taking information from people who've done the work, experienced it, done the research, is really starting to dominate these areas. Basically taking the information from real people and real research and putting together in an AI format, and it's getting more views and more traction than everything and anything. I don't have not one single video, even though I am a trailblazer when it comes to this subject matter. I don't have one single video in 16 years anywhere near the views that this particular video has got in a couple of days. It seems that they want the information to be shared, but in a very controlled way. And since they can't control certain people, they would rather take what they can get from them and curtail the information and make sure it reaches more people, whereas everyone else is being restricted. It's a very cruel game that I see that's being played here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to be in and out. I'm going to be commenting here and there. So let's get started.
What if everything you perceive around you isn't real in the way you imagine? What if instead reality is just a projection, an illusion shaped by your own mind? Imagine for a moment that the world we live in is like a hologram, something that isn't fixed or unchangeable, but a constant energetic movement, interconnected with us in ways we can't see, but we can feel.
Reality is far more fluid than meets the eye, and that nothing is really solid or fixed. This has been one of my main talking points for years.
This idea, far from being just a concept, is beginning to gain visibility in modern science. Reality, as we know it, may be a dynamic energetic projection, formed and modified by the frequencies that our mind emits. Every thought, every emotion, is like a wave spreading across the universe, creating and altering the landscape of our perception. But how can we claim this? What is known about the interaction between the mind and the universe is vast, but also surrounded by mystery.
This is really a consciousness, awareness, frequency, and energy game. Everything else is an illusion and decoded based on the programming and one's perception. And the ego, which is attached to the soul, which is, again, a part of the program when we are here in the physical vessel.
And perhaps the greatest clue that this idea isn't just an abstract theory lies in a study conducted by the CIA. The Gateway Process, a secret project that has now been declassified, explores precisely the relationship between human consciousness and realities beyond ordinary perception. The scientists involved weren't just exploring altered states of consciousness. They were investigating how the human mind can access and even shape the reality around it. This study, as mysterious as it may seem, directly connects with ancient spiritual traditions and the latest discoveries in physics. The theory of the universal hologram, for example, is already an idea present in quantum theories, where the universe is seen as a vast, interconnected field of energy. The human mind, then, is not just a passive receiver, but an active projector interacting with the universal hologram, shaping the reality we experience. So today will be a journey to understand how the human mind and the universe can, in fact, function as interconnected holograms, and how the CIA study offers valuable insight into this. We will explore the secrets connecting consciousness to the universe, revealing how we can alter our perception of the world. For a long time, the human mind was seen as just an observer of reality. But a declassified CIA document, known as the Gateway Process, challenges this view by revealing that our consciousness has the power to access deeper layers of reality, interacting with the universe in ways that traditional science has never dared to imagine. Carried out in a highly secret research context, this study not only investigates the nature of consciousness, but suggests that the mind not only perceives the world, but has the ability to shape it, distorting the very perception of what we consider real.
Now, you guys can only imagine what they are tapping into and what they know now.
During the Gateway Process investigations, the CIA employed a very specific approach to studying altered states of consciousness. The goal was not only to understand how the human brain works, but how it can interact with more subtle dimensions of reality. Through techniques like deep meditation, hemisphere synchronization, and other mental expansion practices.
This is very true. This is one of the reasons why the powers want to keep us distracted. They want to keep us working. They want to keep us in division. They want the males disrespecting and rejecting the feminine outside and within self, and vice versa, what have you. Because in order to tap into these things, we have to be in a quiet state of mind, balanced in both our masculine and feminine, respecting and honoring both, quiet mind state, and setting forth the intention. Think about it.
The participants in this study were able to access states of consciousness that allowed them to visualize and interact with layers of reality beyond normal perception. These practices, far from being simple spiritual experiments, were seen as ways to shape and alter the human experience of the universe. But the CIA study goes beyond the simple exploration of altered states of consciousness. It proposes that the human mind can, in fact, distort reality itself. This doesn't just mean perceiving different dimensions, but being able to actively influence what we see and experience. By accessing these deeper layers of reality, the mind can not only decode invisible patterns of energy, but also, by altering them, change how we interact with the world around us. In this expanded state, the mind ceases to be just a passive observer and becomes an active creator, capable of influencing what it sees. Through this process, the human mind is able to access what the CIA document called layers of reality, states of consciousness where the boundaries between the self and the universe begin to disappear, allowing the perception of reality to be shaped by consciousness.
What have I been saying for years? Reality as we perceive it is layered. There are layers to us. Also, When they reference the mind, they continue to show the brain. The brain is a conductor between the mind. The mind is simply electrical signals, wave particles, and wave particles. So the brain is interfacing and decoding that, and we're not really the body.
Among the practices studied in the gateway process, one of the most powerful was hemisphere synchronization. This process involved using specific sounds and frequencies to balance and align the functions of the brain's two hemispheres. When synchronized, the brain's hemispheres allow for an expanded state of consciousness in which the perception of reality becomes more fluid and malleable.
He who controls the flow of information dictates our perception of reality, and they are doing it with spells, with programs, and music, frequency. I came up with the term raise your frequency, raise your vibration, low vibrational. All of that came from this space, this channel. It's mainstream. Those are mainstream terms now, but I experienced and learned right away that this is what it's all about. Again, mastering the self, meaning the positive and negative, masculine and feminine, both sides of the hemisphere of the brain, which is a conduit for your elevated state of awareness, and your consciousness is being processed through this vehicle here.
Deep meditation was also an essential technique in this study.
Organized religions tell people that meditation is the work of the devil, and if you do it, you're opening yourself up to demons and, wicked forces and all that kind of stuff. Now, there is some truth to that. Yes, if you're doing it and you're getting high, smoking, drinking, doing drugs, sleeping with any and everything who may have attachments and beings that are connecting a psychic cord,
allowing participants to access a higher state of consciousness, where the mind connected directly with the universe and its infinite possibilities. These seemingly simple practices were designed to alter brain frequencies and enable more direct communication with the energetic reality surrounding us. These CIA studies are fundamental in validating the theory of the universal hologram. If the universe works as a hologram, an energetic, dynamic, interconnected projection, then human consciousness has the power to interact with that hologram. By expanding the mind, we can not only perceive but also modify and distort the projections the universe presents to us. Reality is not a constant, but something fluid that can be altered through consciousness itself. This makes us realize that this declassified CIA document not only reflects ancient beliefs that the mind and the universe are interconnected, but it also provides a scientific basis for understanding how this connection works. The practice of expanding consciousness and tuning our minds to universal frequencies allows us to access a reality much richer and more multifaceted than we imagined.
Now here is where we see beings who may look alien and foreign to us. This is also where we can interact with ancestors who may have also crossed over. Again, we're taught that this is evil, this is the work of the devil. If it's so evil and it is so wrong, why is it being hidden from the people? Because you remember, if you're on a realm that's ruled by Satan, if it's evil, the Satan would readily tell you, give all this to the people, would have been giving it out and freely showing and encouraging people to do it. I mean, we got to put our thinking caps on and be more critical in how we digest these talking points and these most popular narratives and these belief systems.
And as science and spirituality converge, we begin to understand that we are more than simple observers of reality. We are its co-creators. Human perception has always been viewed as passive. Our senses capture reality, and the brain processes this information to create an image of the world around us. However, this understanding has been questioned. Every thought, Every emotion is a manifestation of energy, a vibrational pattern that spreads throughout the universe and interacts with the energy waves around us. The concept that reality is a holographic projection gives us a key to understand how our mind works in this process. The universal hologram, as we described earlier, is a dynamic reality formed by energetic patterns, and the human mind doesn't just observe these energies but also projects them, shaping what we perceive as reality. To understand this more deeply, we need to explore the concept of the hologram and how it applies to the human mind. A hologram, in essence, is a three-dimensional projection that contains all the information of an object or image, even when divided into parts. If we consider reality as a hologram, this implies that everything we perceive, from the physical world around us to the emotions and thoughts we feel, is an energetic projection of patterns interacting in complex ways.
Spot on, and this is why those who harvest energy, they prefer the dense, and I know exactly what this energy look and feel like. You can't see it with the naked eye. It looks like heavy white noise. You not only see it, but you feel it, and they take this energy, which is usually distress, anxiety, fear, worry, depression, hate, the energy that we give off when we are being violent and all that. This is the energy that is being most harvested. And they're using those emotions to create other realities and other realms. Again, what we see with the eye is simply a decode of electrical signals in and all around us. A holographic projection, and it is being projected from our minds, respectfully.
In this model, each human being is both a receptor and a projector of these patterns. The human mind, then, is not just a screen on which the images of reality are projected. It is a dynamic tool, an antenna that tunes and projects energy patterns to create the perception of the world. This perception is not a simple copy of what is outside of us, but an active projection shaped by the mental frequencies we emit. The mental frequency, which is determined by our thoughts, emotions, and states of consciousness, interacts directly with the energy field around us, adjusting how we see and experience reality. The relationship between mental frequency and reality perception is crucial. When our mind is aligned with higher frequencies, our perception expands, allowing us to access more subtle and expansive layers of reality. On the other hand, when our frequencies are misaligned, perhaps due to stress, fear, or doubts, our perception tends to narrow, making the world around us seem more limited and challenging. This is not just a matter of how we see things, but of how our mind projects reality, creating what we perceive as real. The scientific explanation behind this idea is supported by recent studies in quantum physics and neuroscience, which show how the human mind is constantly interacting with the quantum field that permeates the universe. Every thought we have generates an energy wave that propagates through the quantum field, influencing what we perceive and even what we experience as our reality. This leads us to believe that the mind is a creative force that shapes, distorts, and redefines reality in real time. This process can be understood through a simple but powerful example. Imagine you are looking at a piece of paper. What you see is not exactly the paper as it is, but rather an interpretation by your mind. The light reflecting off the paper enters your eyes, but it is your brain that creates the image you see of it. In other words, what you perceive of the paper is a projection of your mind, not the paper itself. This means that just as you interpret the paper, your mind is constantly projecting interpretations about everything around you. The simple act of observing anything already involves your mind projecting a version of reality based on your own mental filters, past experiences, and emotional states. And just as a hologram can be manipulated and altered with the simple adjustment of a frequency, our reality can also be consciously shaped, depending on the mental frequencies we choose to align. When we become more aware of our role as projectors of our own reality, we begin to perceive the magnitude of our influence on the world around us. This understanding leads us to true freedom, the freedom to create the reality we wish to live by simply adjusting the frequency with which we interact with the universe. As we discussed earlier, the human mind, with all its complexity, has the power to transcend the limits of common perception, allowing us to connect with different layers of reality. But to access these layers, it takes more than just a simple attempt to see what is beyond the immediate reach of our senses. It is necessary to adjust the mental frequency, just as a radio tunes to different stations. Simply put, reality, like an interconnected hologram, responds to our consciousness, and by altering this consciousness, we can access deeper, broader, and often more mysterious dimensions of perception. The Gateway Process, a declassified CIA document, offers a window to understand how we can expand consciousness in a controlled way. This study revealed that the human mind can be guided into altered states of perception through specific practices, which allow access to realities not easily captured by the common senses. These practices not only expand our perception, but also alter our relationship with time, space, and even the very nature of reality. Among the most powerful techniques described in this study are deep meditation, hemisphere synchronization, and visualization. Deep meditation allows the practitioner to disconnect from external distractions and focus their attention inward, creating a state of calm and openness that facilitates access to higher states of consciousness. When we enter this state, the mind begins to perceive layers of reality that normally remain beyond sensory perception. Hemisphere synchronization is a more advanced technique that seeks to balance the functions of the two brain hemispheres, which in their natural state operate slightly out of coordination. By using specific sounds and frequencies, synchronization allows both hemispheres to work in harmony, creating a mental state where the boundaries between normal perception and subtle realities begin to disappear. This state of mental coherence facilitates connection with higher dimensions of consciousness, allowing the practitioner to access information not immediately available to the logical, analytical mind. Another technique used in this CIA study is visualization. Visualization is a technique where the mind is guided to create vivid images of intentions, desires, or experiences, and by doing so, the mind begins to attract and interact with the corresponding energies and realities. Visualization is not just a passive mental process, but an active creation mechanism. By visualizing something, the mind begins to align its frequency with the energy needed to manifest what has been imagined, thus altering perception and interaction with reality. To understand how these techniques work, it's essential to grasp the concept of altered states of consciousness. When the mind enters deep meditation or high concentration states, it detaches from the limitations of normal sensory perception. The brain enters a higher or lower frequency, depending on the technique used, and this allows the practitioner to access other layers of reality. In simple terms, these states allow the mind to see what cannot normally be seen, or to perceive what is beyond conventional human vision. This expansion of consciousness not only alters perception, but also opens up new possibilities for interaction with the universe around us. The concept of mental frequency is crucial to understanding how the expansion of consciousness can be applied to access different realities. The frequency of the mind, which can be adjusted through practices like meditation, visualization, and hemisphere synchronization determines the quality of the reality we experience. For example, when the mind is tuned to lower frequencies, it connects to a denser reality, more related to matter and the perception of space and time. But when the mental frequency is elevated, the mind begins to perceive subtler realities beyond time and space, accessing information and experiences that are not available in ordinary reality. These practices of expanding consciousness offer more than a simple way of seeing reality differently. They allow us to perceive the underlying structure of reality, the energy patterns that form it, and connect us with dimensions of existence that go beyond what we can perceive with our physical senses. When trained and prepared, the human mind is capable of accessing these realities and interacting with them, thus altering its own perception of life and the universe. When we practice focused intention, such as visualizing a goal or firmly believing in something we desire, we are adjusting our mental frequency to attract that reality. The mind, when aligned with this frequency, begins to perceive opportunities, create internal changes, and even generate behaviors that lead us to that reality. This is a clear example of how we can consciously and actively distort our perception of reality. And so, the perception of reality stops being a mere reaction to external stimuli and begins to be shaped by our own mind through the conscious control of our internal frequencies. Human consciousness, by understanding and applying this power, becomes capable of creating a world more aligned with its deepest intentions. The true understanding of the universe and the mind reveals that both are deeply intertwined, functioning as a single network of energy and perception. After all, reality is not something fixed and immutable, but a dynamic projection that we can influence. And when we recognize our ability to alter our perception of reality, we embrace the power to live more consciously, transforming our experience of life and our connection with the universe.
Now you can better understand why I say that the brain is a virtual helmet. You have consciousness and awareness and intelligence and the ability to co-create and to project visuals and images before you even take on a body. The brain is simply decoding, receiving and externalizing signals to help shape and co-create the very world we are in. Even the brain is a holographic projection, a form of technology built within this holographic reality, which is why it is created here, the body and all, and it must remain here once your life and your experience here is over. All right? That's it for me. Be sure to like, share, and comment, and I'll be with you guys again soon.